So it's a rainy day again. It's been raining for, what, 2 or 3 weeks. Before it was raining, it was snowing and icing, so the ground is absolutely saturated. Before I get into the video, the well, one of the things that would happen when the ground got really saturated like this is it would get dirty. And so I dug that ditch a while back so that flooding rain would hit that ditch instead of going right into the well. Well, I wasn't sure if the ditch would help with this slow and steady week-long rains from keeping it dirty. Well, it has. I checked it last night and the well was not dirty, so I think we've got this problem mastered. I'm very happy that the well doesn't get dirty anymore. That being said, I did Google wells getting dirty, and it did say that one of the common annoyances of wells is they do get dirty. So I guess everybody has these problems. So today I'm in front of the wood stove. I had a commenter the other day say, I don't have to worry about wood stoves. I live in Arizona. To which I replied, oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking, what's the point of living off grid if you don't have a wood stove? Now, I don't know if this guy lived off grid or not, but I feel like kind of the romance of the whole thing is the wood stove. You do all this work so you can settle down in front of that beautiful fire. I mean, think about it. People go out camping just so they can sit in front of a fire. I can fall asleep to it. It's pretty nice. One of the things, well, I've actually gotten several questions about the wood stove that I feel like I've covered a lot. As you notice, my glass is very clean. I just watched another YouTube video today. The glass is dirty. And I think a lot of people are catching on that my glass is clean. You can see the fire. One person said the whole point of sitting in front of the fire while you're doing a YouTube video is so the audience can see the fire. I don't know if I've ever seen a video other than mine, I'm going to brag a little bit, where you could really see the fire. But I have asked one of the YouTubers in a live feed, what's your moisture content on your firewood? Oh yeah, I use a moisture tester. It's 20% or less. No, it's not. If your glass is that stained that you can barely see the fire, you have wet firewood. Wet firewood causes creosote. Creosote is a tacky, tar, nasty looking thing. Sticks inside your chimney. It's very flammable. And it can catch on fire. Well, that sticky, nasty tar that sticks in your chimney sticks on your glass too. So you got to have dry firewood. All you got to do is get yourself a tester. Now I know people are going to say, what about the old days? I didn't have testers back in the old days. Well, back in the old days, they were burning wet firewood. And they were have chimney fires. But I thought I'd grab this piece. This piece is a little punky wood. We bought this from some guy. I mean, that tells you something. So this is a moisture tester. It's got 2 probes up here. And it reads in percentages. All you gotta do is punch it in there. Now, you'll see that this one has got a red light. It says 59%. It's off the charts. And the reason it is that punky wood, it has soaked up a lot of water. This will dry out. I just gotta put it by the wood stove. It will dry out as long as you bring it inside. If you leave it outside, it won't dry out. But now what I'm really talking about is green firewood. Firewood that has not cured. So you cut the tree down, and you gotta let the firewood cure for a couple of years, especially oak. And then you can test it, and you'll see this one says, well, I don't know if you can see it or not. This one says 8.7 or so. You got to have it less than 20%. You got to split the firewood, and then you test it because you're wanting to test inside. Make sure that it dried. The outside's going to be dry within a few hours. So once you have the water removed from the firewood, when your wood produces smoke, that smoke doesn't have water in it now. So that smoke can't be sticky. It can be dusty. And you will find on this window sometimes that there is a dust on it, a film. And so you just take a sock and you wipe it off. I've noticed that a sock works best, especially if the glass is hot. It doesn't melt. White cotton socks seem to work best. But there are times where I'll get a piece of firewood in there, like this one right here. The inside is 20% or less, but there is a couple patches right here that is damp from the rain and the snow and all that. So if you don't catch that before you put it in there, that dampness will stick to the window. And so then all you got to do, some people use washcloth. I don't know. I just seem like wet wipes. Wet wipes seem to work best, especially on hot glass. You take a wet wipe and you dip it in the ash, and then you just wipe it on the glass, and it literally just wipes right off. Now, it does not wipe right off that thick tar, nasty stuff. So about once a day, I do wipe the window off, and then I take another wet wipe and I clean all the ash off. I might even take a third wet wipe just to make sure that your wet wipe is coming out fairly clean before you close it up. Then I take that white sock again and I clean off the moisture off the window. If you're running it all the time, it's going to be a lot more difficult because it's hot. Now the wet wipe, just from experience, not suggesting you do this, doesn't seem to melt on the glass. So if it's hot, I have this glove and I can take that wet wipe and I can wipe it off and clean it while it's still hot. The thing is that water in the wet wipe will evaporate pretty quick, so you want to have some water that you can re-moisturize it with. Really, I don't have a problem because the firewood is dry. I know the people up in the Northwest are just going to scream at me, that's all we got around here. But you can't use pine or cedar. You cannot use evergreen trees. That sap is water. Even if it's dried out for a few years, it's still water. There's water in there. You're not supposed to use it in these wood stoves. Hardwoods, trees that lose their leaves is what you're supposed to use. I don't want to get into the whole science about firewood, but I really have studied this a lot. There are different BTUs of firewood. Hickory, I think hickory, there might be one above it, something like ash or something. But hickory is one of the hardest woods out there. So per cord of wood, you have more BTUs. I think it's like 30 or 40 million BTUs per cord of wood. And then oak is right underneath that. And then you start dropping down like into poplar and those kind of woods. They're all nice. Maple is another one. They're all nice to have. And for different seasons, you may want to use different firewoods. So in the real cold temperatures, you may want to use hickory. And in the cooler temperatures like fall and spring, you may want to use poplar or maple. Some of these people will say, these wood stoves create too much ash. Well, it's not ash. What it is not burning. It's because you got wet firewood. Wet firewood doesn't burn. You're using 70% of your energy, your heat, to burn off that water. So you have this big piece of coal at the end that didn't burn. That's not ash. That's firewood. Ash is dusty. It just falls right all over the place. It's a mess. I got a comment the other day. It is troubling to me that this can happen. He said that he had a wood stove and his house burned down. Now, it did not burn down because of the wood stove. It burned down in the summertime. But since he had a wood stove, the insurance company didn't cover his house burning down. Now, I didn't get much more than that. I even tried to do some follow-up questions, so it may have been just somebody who was fake. I don't know, but it did bring up a very valid point, and one that I have talked about before. Insurance companies are a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme is all it is. It really is a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi schemes means you take money from one person and give it to another person, all the while you're trying to take in the profits. And eventually, it loses. They're collecting money from a bunch of people, gambling on that you're never going to have a problem. And then somebody has a problem, and then they pay that person the money. So you could pay in for years and years and years. And you have a minor problem with your house. For example, let's say you've spent $100,000 putting into insurance companies over the years. And then your roof leaks, and you have a $10,000 repair to make. You ask the insurance company for the $10,000 and they say, oh no, we can't do it because you had solar panels on your roof or something like that. So they're telling you, you can't have your money back and you only want a tenth of what you paid in. I've always said that you must self-insure. Now, I self-insure, but I don't self-insure the truck. The truck insurance, in my mind, at least is halfway reasonable. Not completely, because they can still deny you coverage on your vehicle. But what is nice about vehicle insurance is if you hurt somebody or damage their property and you can't afford to pay them their damages, insurance covers that. But as far as the house, I don't have insurance on it. I self-insure, and it's much more reliable. I don't even think I could insure this house. Once, it wasn't built to code, for one thing. Two, it's a tiny house. I don't even think they would care. And second, I have a wood stove. The way I do it is I control my expenses. I don't go extravagant. I live in a tiny house that costs $5,000 to build. I can cover $5,000. So you save money and you pay $5,000. The guy whose house burned down and the insurance didn't cover it, first of all, if he still had a loan on that house, he's still responsible for the loan. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, just default on the loan. That's their problem now. I don't know. I feel like that's theft. It drives up inflation throughout the economy because they got to recover that money somehow. So what they're going to do is the next person who wants to go get a loan, they're going to charge more interest on. So you just drove up the interest, which is driving up the inflation. Somebody's got to pay for it. And the person who is not paying for it is the person who asked for the loan. It's everybody else that has to pay for it. And I think it's theft to everybody else. You still owe on that house. You need another house to live in, but you can't afford a new house because you're still paying on the old house that they didn't cover. And it is an absolute scam. There is just nothing about insurance that is right. I mean, think about this. Let's just say for a minute that I have a savings account and I put $100 a week in it or a month or whatever. And so my house, $5,000 house I have. So over 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, I've got a savings account. Let's say I got $30,000 or $40,000 in a savings account. Wouldn't that be great? And the house burns down. And I go to the bank and I say, hey, I need $5,000 to build me a new house because my old house burned down. So I've got this big savings account. Can I have $5,000? They're calculating. You can have $2,300. Your house depreciated. So you can't have the full value of the house, the money. Well, but my money is there. That's my money. I want it back. No, you can only have $2,300 to buy you a new house. The rest of it has to come out of your pocket. But that is my pocket. You were holding it for me. Sorry, you didn't read the fine print where we say we can tell you what to. So that's what insurance is. They're a savings account. Life insurance is another one. Life insurance is a big scam. You pay in all these years, your entire life you're paying in. You probably pay in more than what they're going to pay you. Let's say it's a $100,000 life insurance policy. So you've paid in $150,000. You die, your wife gets $100,000. Woohoo! What about the other $50,000? Of course, you could take all your money, invest it into CDs and interest rates and all that stuff. Probably be able to get more out of it, plus your $50,000 that you already lost. It's just a scam. Insurance is a scam. So what you got to do is downsize your life. You've got to get downsized. If you don't get downsized, you can't do what I'm telling you. Downsize your life to something that you can afford, not something that you want. Americans are always worried about what they want. You need to be able to buy what you can afford. That way, when you lose what you can afford, you can replace what you can afford. An example I have is years ago, we lived in this little house, rented house. We had renter's insurance. I've been paying in insurance, one way or another, homeowner's insurance, renter's insurance, into the same insurance agent for 25 years. I've been paying in. He's the only agent I've ever dealt with. I move out of state, I keep him. I move way down here, I keep him. We get robbed one day. I called the insurance agent, or not the agent, but the hotline you're supposed to call. Actually, you do it online, and then they call you. She's talking to me, and she has a accent like mine. Not a southern accent, but an accent like mine, maybe a little bit further north, Minnesota, Ohio, or something, who knows. And she's telling me what kind of coverage I'm going to get. So, I don't know. I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say I got $5,000 worth of firearms stolen from me, and I wanted to get those replaced. And she said, oh, no, they depreciated. So you're only going to get, I think it was $2,300. They're like brand new. They've never been shot, this kind of stuff. Oh no, they depreciated. They're over, and two of them weren't even over a year old. But something happened during the conversation. She wanted more information. So I had to upload this information to the website. So a few days later, I get another call. But this guy has a southern accent, clearly from the South. And we're talking, and he says, yeah, we're going to give you, and I think it was actually a little bit more than what the guns were worth. I think he said $5,300. I found it interesting that the people that you talk to can determine what your value is. And it may be valued based on what kind of mood they're in, whether they are pro-gun or anti-gun. So it has nothing to do with any value or depreciation. It has to do with how they feel about it. I was robbed again the next week. I ordered a security system. I've talked about this a lot. I ordered a security system, but it hadn't showed up yet. So the guy who robbed me the first time robbed me again. This time he took the long guns. The first time it was the handguns. I'm trying to remember all the details. And so I called, got the claim, everything was taken care of. And a week later, my agent that I had been with for 25 years says, yeah, we're going to have to drop your renter's insurance. We can't support you anymore. But I paid in 25 years. And I asked for, I don't know, it was less than $10,000. They couldn't afford it? What is that? So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about the well. So I hope I can inspire you to self-insure so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.